They say it takes a village to raise a child. But no one warns you what happens when that village turns its back, or worse, when it becomes the threat. I didn't always live in Alder Glen. We moved here after my husband passed, me and my son, Eli. He was 6 when we arrived, clinging to my hand and still asking if Dad was coming home soon. I chose this neighborhood because it felt safe. Manicured lawns, neighbors who waved, a good school a few blocks away. HOA run, sure, but back then, I thought that was a good thing. I thought structure meant safety. Eli was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 2 months after we settled in. One night, he collapsed on the bathroom floor. I remember the sound, his tiny body hitting tile, and me crawling to him, hands shaking, praying I hadn't already failed him. From that moment on, life wasn't just parenting. It was monitoring, calculating, preparing for disaster every minute of every day. So when summer rolled around, and the North Carolina heat climbed past 90, I installed a compact, medical-grade fridge beneath the shaded part of our porch. Just a small unit, nothing flashy. It stored Eli's insulin and backup glucagon. Right there, easy to access for his cousin Mason, who watched him while I pulled 12-hour nursing shifts at the county hospital. It wasn't for convenience. It was survival. My son's life depended on what was inside that box. But to Diane Walsh, it was unsightly. Diane was the president of the Alder Glen Homeowners Association. And if you're picturing a woman who ironed her socks and probably sorted her groceries by color, you're not far off. Every Thursday, she walked the neighborhood with a clipboard like a suburban warden, cataloging offenses, a flower pot outside regulation height, a mailbox with chipped paint. She once fined a veteran for having a flag that waved too loudly on windy days. So when she saw Eli's medical fridge, she didn't knock, didn't ask questions, didn't wait for the HOA board to review the exemption request I'd submitted. She acted, on her own, unilaterally. I came home after a double shift and felt it immediately, something off in the air. I looked toward the porch and saw it empty. The fridge was gone. The wall still had the bracket holes, like open wounds. I ran. The side yard smelled faintly of bleach. I turned the corner and saw Eli on the couch through the screen door, pale, motionless, mouth slightly open. Mason was kneeling beside him, crying. He said his head hurt, then just stopped talking. I didn't scream. I didn't have time. I called 911 while checking Eli's pulse. It was sluggish. His skin was cold, clammy. His glucose meter blinked at me, 423. He was fading. Fast. Then she appeared, like something out of a horror movie. Diane walked up, pastel polo tucked into white slacks, clipboard in hand, calm as a sea in denial. I went ahead and removed that item, she said, nodding to the now bare wall. It violated Article 3, Section 12. External devices must not disrupt the visual harmony of shared spaces. I remember just staring at her, holding my child's body in my arms, and trying to process how someone could say something so grotesquely bureaucratic while a child teetered between life and death 5 feet away. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The paramedics arrived, thank God, and everything after that blurred into sirens and sterile hallways. The ER doc said if we'd gotten there 5 minutes later, Eli would have suffered brain damage. Or worse. I sat by his bed, tracing the tubes in his arms, memorizing the sound of the 4 drip. And I made a promise. Diane Walsh was going to answer for what she did. The next morning, I walked into the police station, no makeup, no filter, no small talk, and told the officer at the front desk I wanted to file charges. Attempted murder, I said. He blinked. Are you sure this wasn't just a misunderstanding? I leaned in. My son almost died because a woman destroyed his medical supply. This is not a misunderstanding. That night, she was served with a summons. The charge: willful destruction of life-preserving medical equipment resulting in endangerment of a minor. It didn't take long for the story to spread. First, the local news, then regional, then national. I watched the neighborhood change overnight. Posts disappeared from the HOA Facebook group. Threads mocking the fridge eyesore quietly vanished. People who used to wave at me now crossed the street. Some sent private messages of support, but none would say a word publicly. Diane held a hastily arranged HOA meeting a week later, trying to salvage her reputation. She stood at the front of the community clubhouse, pearls around her neck like armor, and delivered her speech. We must uphold our standards. We must not let one emotional situation unravel the integrity of our rules. If we start making exceptions, what's next? Porta potties on every lawn. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The room was quiet when she finished. That kind of silence that doesn't feel empty, but heavy. No one clapped. No one nodded. Just the sound of air conditioning humming over a room full of discomfort. Then came the court date. I showed up in scuffed shoes and a backpack full of medical records. Diane arrived in a luxury sedan, her lawyer 2 steps behind her. She looked confident. For exactly 5 minutes. Until the footage played. See, what she didn't know was that Justin, my neighbor, a quiet Vietnam vet who'd always just waved and nodded, had a security cam facing his side yard. And that camera caught her, wearing gardening gloves, bolt cutters in hand, snipping the security latch, opening the fridge, pulling out every box. She even hosed it down, spraying the inside like she was cleaning mildew off patio furniture. Then she dumped everything into a trash bag and rolled the fridge into the back of a waiting HOA maintenance truck. I watched her face as the footage paused. For the first time, she looked scared. The prosecutor turned to her. Did you think the red medical tags were decorative? That the prescription labels were fake? That thermal containment packs come with snack coolers? She didn't answer. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Her lawyer tried to broker a deal, plead down to reckless endangerment, no jail time, community service. They asked me to consider withdrawing the attempted murder charge. I looked at Eli, sleeping in the hallway chair, a blanket over his lap, the faint purple bruises from IVs still marking his arms. I thought about every parent who's ever had to fight to explain their child's condition to someone who thought it was just drama or inconvenient. I thought about the quiet shame I carried, wondering if maybe I'd failed him. And then I said no. No deal. The crowd outside the courthouse erupted when word got out. Protesters, parents, nurses, diabetics holding signs that said could have been me, and medical devices are not clutter. The story had stopped being mine. It had become ours. The jury deliberated for 5 hours. They came back with a guilty verdict. Attempted murder by destruction of life-sustaining medication. 3 years in prison. Lifetime ban from any administrative role in housing associations. Mandatory counseling. Public restitution. And a permanent mark on the HOA record books. She didn't cry. Didn't argue. Just stood there in that orange jumpsuit. Stripped of all the control she once held like a leash. Back in the neighborhood, the shift was quiet but real. Little wooden signs popped up on lawns. We stand with families. Medical needs aren't violations. No meetings. No speeches. Just hammers and conviction. 1 year later, we started Jacob's Light, a nonprofit named after Eli's middle name. We fund medical fridges, glucose monitors, emergency kits for families that insurance overlooks. We've helped over 800 households so far. People donate what they can. Others volunteer. Some are neighbors who once said nothing and now want to do something. Eli's 10 now. He plays outside again. He laughs. Loud. Unfiltered. We put up a new fridge, same spot. But next to it, there's a sign, carved from cedar. It reads, "Here lives a mother who didn't let silence bury her child." No one dares take it down. And if you're watching this, if you've ever had to fight for someone you love, just to make space for them in a world that prefers symmetry over humanity, leave a comment. Tell us your story. Because HOA rules don't define us. Our courage does.